Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Storyteller Horoscope for you for March 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, if you'd like to book a live reading. Also, if you love the way I teach astrology and want to learn, there may be some slots in my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see more about and order my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, which has now become an Amazon bestseller. So you can see more about that at anniehelpsyou.com or at radicalprayerbook.com. So for Taurus for March 2019, we've got lots of beautiful water energy this month that blends in perfect harmony with the earth energy of Taurus. So your Taurus placements are going to get a sweet boost from all of this water energy. We've got a very powerful new moon, a very powerful full moon. So I want to go into lots of juicy details, but I'd like to use the visual aids for that, as I have been in recent months, so that I can do a very good job showing you the whys, not just the what's behind what's going on for Taurus this month. So let's look at the charts now. Hello, Taurus friends. Okay, so I'm so excited to tell you all of these details and show you visually all of the massive amount of activity that's going on for you in March of 2019, specifically for your sign. First, in order to go deeper and to make the most of what I'm about to show you, we have to determine where your placement is in the 30 degrees of Taurus. There are 3 designations. Early is pretty much the April born, or 0 to 9 degrees. Middle is around May 1st through 10th, or 10 to 19 degrees, and late is May 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. These degrees are also relevant for your rising sign or your moon sign. If you're watching, if you have a Taurus moon or Taurus rising, then this report also works for you. Okay, so now if you didn't catch that, just rewind it and see where you're at, because I'm going to go into a lot of details and this will have been very relevant. Okay, so I'm going to move this. Okay, so we can get an idea of what's happening here. Okay, so the first things I'm going to show you, even though we're using the early chart, is just general information for all of you. Okay, so I want to give you a picture of the scene, and then I'll drill down into each individual chart to show you. The first thing I want to talk about is Mars in Taurus. Whenever there's a planet in your own sign, it's very relevant, because that planet, during the cycle that the planet moves through your sign, will cross over every Taurus placement. Okay, so the timeline for this, and I always send these out early, so even though this is a March report, I'm posting it in the beginning of February, so I am going to note here that you all who are the April-born Tauruses, in February you will have Mars cross over your placement. Then throughout the whole month of March, Mars will cross over the rest of the Taurus placements. So all of the May-born Tauruses, you'll have Mars cross over your placement in March. Okay, so just February, April-born Tauruses, or around 0 to 9 degrees, and then March is going to be the May-born Tauruses, and the rest of the degrees. Okay, so the reason why this is super relevant, right, as I said, is it's going to cross over. It activates it. 0 degrees, or something crossing over, is called a conjunction in astrology, and it's the most powerful aspect in all of astrology. It activates something. When these planets move into a configuration with your planets, it activates something. And Mars activates action. Okay, this is what I call the border collie of the zodiac. It's, always, if you've ever been around border collie, I talk about them a lot because I have them. But they're always panting, and they're ready for the next job, and they're ready to do stuff, and they're ready for action. They want to, do something. So it's very action-oriented. It can be aggressive, but it can also be assertive. So you might find that you are more motivated. This can bring great motivation. And sometimes when you're not motivated, if something has to be done, there could be some conflict that's encouraging you to take action on something that maybe you should have a while ago. And since we do have Mercury retrograde the whole month, there's lots of this energy or stories or patterns from the past that are coming up. So as Mars crosses over, and really this is still relevant for you all April born, even when Mars is crossing over for you, because the Mercury pre-shadow period starts around February 19th. So even in February, when these are, it's crossing over for you early placements, the retrograde tilt is going to be very profound, okay? So things that you should have done in the past that are coming back around, or that you could have done, or that you had an opportunity to do, or things, projects, things like that coming back from the past, you may feel very motivated. You don't have to let the retrograde stop you from taking action. Just remember that the actions we take during Mercury retrograde tend to have a shorter half-life, or a shorter term than other things. So just moving things along a natural continuum as is in your flow. But if you have to actually launch something that you want to be a long-term venture, and it's the first time you're doing it, the stars in April may hold better for you. But you just have to follow your flow. All right, so the rest of these really notable things going on for Tauruses are all coming from planets in Pisces, and that's because planets in Pisces will make 60-degree angles to your Taurus placements. So 60-degree angle is one of the two most favorable, sweet, awesome aspects in astrology. So one of the energetic themes of this month for you has to do with ingredients on a counter, okay? That is a pie dish. I know it doesn't look like it. These are apples. It's really hard to draw like that. Maybe they look like cherries. You can pretend they're cherries. Let's just make them cherries. Okay, so they're on a counter. Gosh, it's getting further and further from looking like a cherry as we go on here, right? Okay, well, you see the point. You've got a counter, and you've got ingredients on the counter. And if you leave the room and you come back and say, where's the pie? Right? The pie's not made, because the 60-degree angles mean you have to do something with it. So if you're asking, where's the pie? Then remember that this energy means you actually have to use the ingredients to convert it to the pie. All right? So just keep that in mind this month, because you'll see how maybe some things will just come to you, and that does happen. But for the most part, 60-degree angles, you got to actually do something with them. They're different from trines in that way. So now I want to go through and show you how actually, we're not going to talk about these two. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the new moon and how that's going to energetically affect y'all. Okay, so before I do that, I actually want to do one other thing specifically for you early people. A lot of these aspects are going to be more relevant for the middle to late degree people, but you should still stay tuned. But I want to give you a little more attention in the early section here. So those of you in the very early placements, like the first degrees, the first 5 degrees or so, or the first 5 days of the sign, Uranus is going to cross over your Taurus placement between now and the coming months, and then it will retrograde back over, and then it will cross over it again. So I'm calling for you guys the theme, and even though this is going to be more intense for the early placements, if you don't know your chart well, you may have an early placement Taurus, and Uranus could be hitting that placement. So you could be in here and not even know it, first of all. Second of all, Uranus moving into Taurus can bring big changes for everybody of every sign. Just the activation of movement into a different sign. Of course, it's activating different houses, which we're not going to get into in this reading. But it can often bring upsets. Sometimes it brings happy surprises. Definitely can bring happy surprises. Things you've been working for, things just totally unexpected. But I'm calling this energy upsets equal up-leveling. Because I don't know if you're familiar with up-leveling. It's a word we use in the coaching world, which means that you just take your game up to the next level. So you're like playing in this game, and then you're like, you do this inner work or do whatever, and then you're like, okay, now you're playing here. And then you up-level, and then now you're playing here, right? So you're on this path upwards. Sometimes Taurus energies can be fond of not making certain changes. It depends on your actual profile. It could be different for you, but the energy of Taurus itself is fixed. It likes things the way they are, for the most part, right? So sometimes something like Uranus has to come in and just like, whoa, shock you, surprise you, jolt you. It could feel like it's an upset, but it could definitely lead to an up-leveling, right? So you all in the beginning, especially highlighted, but this could come for anyone at any time. All right, So now I want to talk about these Pisces placements and these 60-degree angles that they're making. There's the first thing we'll look at is the sun. Okay, so the sun is going to move from 10 to 29 degrees over this month. That means that any of you with Taurus placements between 10 and 29 degrees, you're going to have the sun make a 60-degree angle with your placement. Super harmonious, super awesome, lots of potentials. And since we have this tilt towards the past with Mercury retrograde, huge theme, blessings from the past, magic from the past, things rolling in from the past. So the sun will make those angles. So that's basically for your birthdays, that's going to be the Mayborn. All right, so everybody in the Mayborn division of Taurus, you're going to have the sun give this beautiful kiss to you somewhere throughout the month. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is the new moon. So the new moon is going to be it's like between 15 and 16 degrees. So anybody that has placements between 10 and 20 degrees, before we were talking about 10 and 29, okay, now we're talking about 10 and 20. So that's going to be like May 1st through the 10th, around the days before and after could also feel this. And with a specific focus in the days around the May 5th and 6th, we'll hit right on. As a 60-degree angle, the new moon will make a sextile, it's called, to your placement. But we count 5 degrees in each direction or so. So, you know, in these time frames, extra blessings from that new moon. New cycles at play. Okay, so the next thing that's happening is Mercury is in retrograde, and it is retrograde in Pisces. So again, got all this activity in Pisces. Now we're talking about this guy here. He's going to get to 29 degrees, just another degree here, and then he's going to move back to 16 degrees. Well, I guess it would be like that. I'm exaggerating the movement here. Okay, so it's going to be moving back from 29 degrees to 16 degrees. That means Taurus placements, anywhere between 16 and 29 degrees, and that's like around May 5th or so through the rest of the sign. You're going to have Mercury have crossed over, hit a 60-degree angle to your placement, then go retrograde, hit it again, and then when it goes direct, hit it again. So because it's a harmonious angle, these 3 hits are more likely to be sweet things. All right, so that's really, really, really good. So much to be excited about. And by the way, these things that we're talking about with these Pisces placements, this is something that tends to happen around this year every time. The sun, definitely, as it moves through Pisces, you know, so these blessings that come from the sun's movement through Pisces, it has a beautiful energy for Taurus placements. And that happens every year. It's not just now. Okay. Now I want to talk about the full moon. Okay, this is a little different. We're taking a break from the 60-degree angle discussion now. The full moon is, depending on your time zone, it could be different, but around March 20th. And that's going to be at 0 degrees of Libra. This is the 3rd supermoon in a row. A supermoon is when the moon is closer to us. So its gravitational effects on the Earth are more powerful. And you can kind of get a taste of this last eclipse in January. Holy hat. Eclipses are powerful already, but there was a massive amount of emotion for many people. Everybody I talked to was like, whoa, what's happening? Besides the eclipse, it was a supermoon, and it was at 0 degrees. Whenever there is a moon event like this at 0 degrees, it's really indicative of new beginnings. We had in January, February, and March, this is the 3rd now in a row, 3 supermoons. Okay, so woo, big gravitational effects. And also 3 moons at the 1st degree of their sign, 0 degrees. So this is indicating a quarter, the first whole quarter of new beginnings, and that holds even in this retrograde. So it's a very interesting retrograde in that way, because retrograde, you know, hopefully by now you've heard me say it enough, retrograde energies bring up the past. When there are sweet aspects, brings up sweet things from the past. It could also bring up challenging things from the past in order to heal them so that they can become sweet things, things that are unresolved. But to have this much like new energy going on in the midst of a retrograde is really interesting. So it'll be fun to see how a lot of newness comes in even with that old type of energy. All right, so let's check out to see where that's going to be for y'all. So let's look at the early chart first. 0 degrees of Libra is here in the 6th house. We'll talk about that, what that means once we switch over here. Okay, so you middle degree people, you're going to be on the line. This happens sometimes. Depending on your exact middle degree placement, that's either going to be in the 5th or 6th house. All right, and you late degree, move over there. Late degree placements, that's definitely going to be in the 5th house for you. So again, this is like, it's a month of paradoxes because we've got all this energy towards the past with the retrograde. And here we've got a full moon, which usually energetically indicates completion, fruition, you know, getting somewhere with it, you know, like an end point. But you've got it as a 0 degree placement. So it's like an end point and a beginning in a really powerful way. I would expect a massive amount of drama in the days around this new moon, full moon rather. Okay, so in the days before and after March 20th. Try to keep your plate a little bit, you might not be able to help it because there's just going to be a lot of busyness going on, but just be prepared for there to be a lot of intensity. And that can be for better or worse. Full moons bring drama, bring fruition, bring happy tears, bring stress. I always call it like an energetic shaking off of your aura. You accumulate all this energy in your aura, and then at the full moon, it's like you shake it off. It reminds me of a dog when they come out of the water, shake, shake, shake. Right? So the full moon gets it all shaken off there. But because it's a supermoon and because of this phenomena with the, 3 supermoons in a row, there's a very good chance it's going to be more intense. So it's going to carry a lot of intensities. Okay, so for you, early degree and some of you middle degree people, you're going to have this drama or this exciting fruition or something notable in the 6th house. This is a health house. So you have to really guard your health, watch your symptoms. If you have something, I'm telling you this beforehand, if you have something that's pending and you're not checking it out, it would be good to get it checked out. If you have an intuition about something, get it checked out because this moon could bring something to the surface if it's not already there, or it could bring advancement along the continuum of figuring out a resolution for an issue. It could bring a flare-up, or it could bring a solution or a breakthrough. So health, your routine, this is a work house. So sometimes work can be activated, a culmination of work, accomplishments, changing of chapters. This is also a pet house, so pets might need more attention at this time. In general, if you're trying to give a pet a forever home, I don't, lean towards a retrograde for trying to find a long-term pet. There are many pets that have come to people in a retrograde cycle that turn out to be their forever pet. So there are lots of examples of this and exceptions. But if you're, don't have any intuitive inclination any other way, or nothing comes to you that's very obvious, the retrograde time might be a good time to prepare a house for a pet, but not actually to be looking because the stars could be better into April. But just definitely follow your flow for that. And if a pet has a symptom, to get that checked out. The 6th house also has to do with any other medical, including alternative medical things, and yoga, and, daily practices. So you may find that there's something notable there. Okay, so the 5th house, so the rest of the middle degree and the late degree placements, the 5th house, this drama is going to be or fruition or excitement or something notable. In the house of children, so something involving childbearing, child rearing, something notable. A child could need attention. They could be having a milestone. They could be having an accomplishment. They might need you more, or you may have something really cool happen with them, or something that has to be given attention. This is also a romance house, which is called true love. So something involving true love or a relationship, romantic relationship could culminate. This is a hobby house, fun, you could cross something off your bucket list. That's the kind of energy that it is. Or commit to a life of more fun. I love that for this time where you're like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to work 99% of the time and have fun 1% of the time. You might get your ratios of like work to play a little bit
different. I'm being ambitious here, 60-40, but something in there you might have shifts. Okay, so these are the things that are most on my mind for Tauruses this month. Now I want to talk about some general transits, some very noteworthy things that you really need to know. From the general perspective, I'm going to leave the visuals and go back to the regular video with me, giving you my favorite dates to note and other information that can really help you to use the energy of this month in the best way.
So the general transits of March 2019 carry the energy of sudden changes amidst a quiet rest. March continues the trend that started in February of 2019 with more sweet aspects than challenging ones, which is very exciting. So this dreamy and creative Pisces energy is going to dominate the month of March. Then around the 20th, as the sun moves into Aries, the climate will change, the energy will change, but most of the month is covered in this quiet creativity after this push of the window that we had that opened at the end of December and went into the end of February, beginning of March. So it's a great time to experiment and work in the backdrop. Things from the past are very likely to come back. Blessings from the past, things you've done from the past, projects from the past, people from the past. There's a strong tilt with the retrograde energies. So Mercury will officially be in retrograde from March 5th through the 28th. Depending on your time zone, those dates could toggle a little bit. But the whole month, and even starting February 19th and going to April 17th, there's the retrograde transit, because there's a pre-transit shadow period and a post-transit shadow period when the energies are starting to shift. So it's a long transit. Making commitments to short-term arrangements could be perfectly fine, but just know that in general, the energy shows a shorter term agreement or a shorter term energy. So things that you do in this time, if you're intending them to be long term, they often wind up being shorter term than expected, or if they do make it into the long term, they get seriously called into question or have to change dramatically in order to be able to persevere. But for short term things, interim plans, things like that, it can be perfectly fine. It's great for trying on things, continuing with things you've already been doing, editing, anything like that. Also watch paperwork and other agreement details carefully, because Mercury ruling communication can interfere with the clarity of information that you get at this time, and things agreed to will likely be shifted, or you might not know all the information. Also, things involving transportation are more likely to come up. So problems with your car, trips, changes to plans, those are all common. But in general, the month has definitely more sweet aspects than challenging ones, and it's a very nice rest in between these push points. Okay, so once we start to get into April, it's going to be time to push again, and you'll start to feel that energy starting at the end of March, but it's going to brew and get stronger and more clear as we get into April. One of the twists, or the big twist this month, is amidst this smooth and introspective flow, Uranus is moving back into Taurus to stay until, you know, years from now. So generally the transit is around 7 years. It popped in last year to Taurus and then it went out. And as you may recall, the energy as it popped in is, or was, instigating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and wild weather that has still continued. Also, there have been a lot of things going on in the news that relate to the breakup of old systems and the solidity of intact systems that are getting disrupted. And Uranus moving through Taurus, this is very typical of that energy. So these kind of changes and disruptions and volatility probably will shift. So our relationship to the changes is what we get to have control over. So these changes to old systems can be a very welcome thing if things are stodgy and not working. But in the places where there's some security, sometimes that can be upset in these times. And this goes all the way down, you know, starting at the global level, all the way down to the individual experience. So Uranus bringing changes there amidst this quiet time and beyond. In general, the commitment for, or the recommendation for this time is to keep your commitments as light as possible and as flexible as possible. You can certainly do things, but just know that things that are planned could get called into question. There could be shifts. They could still work out, but there's definitely a lot more of a kind of a last minute flowing, flexible energy that works well with this time. So I'm going to give you the days that there are sweet aspects. Do know that even if I give you a date that's supposed to have a sweet aspect, you can feel that aspect days before or days after. And some days have more than one aspect, with one of them being sweet and one of them being challenging. So you really just need to tune into your intuition with this awareness. The dates I'm going to give you, you can also find written as well as explanations of all the aspects and what you can expect with them when you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and sign up for my free email newsletter. Then I send out a written version of this general report a month beforehand so that you have it to look at and make your plans and you can understand the energies at play. But in general, try not to stick too heavily to a certain date as being a certain way, because the carryover of the aspects can definitely, stretch over a period of time. So you just kind of have to feel your way through. Okay, so the dates with the sweet vibes: March 2nd, 6th, 8th, 9th, 13th, 14th, 17th, 20th, 27th, and 28th. And the ones to look out for a likelihood of stress and challenges and drama or overstimulation or general awkwardness: March 1st, 5th, 6th, 14th, 15th, 22nd, and 28th. So you can see there are less of those aspects that are more challenging. So I'm just going to hit a couple of other highlights here, some of the dates that are most calling out to me to discuss. The rest of them, like I said, you can sign up for the newsletter and you can see all of my aspects that I put on here for you in the newsletter. Okay, so on March 1st, it kind of starts out with a bang with an aspect with Venus and Uranus. So often that can bring jolts to love or money or your certainty or self-esteem. So just kind of look out for that. But there is another sweet aspect, or a sweet aspect the day after, that could kind of help to bring a happy outcome from that, or could soften the energy. The days around March 5th, Mercury actually goes retrograde, and there's more awkwardness around the days before and after it changes station. So, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, more awkwardness, more changes. Just try to keep your scheduling light. One of the big days of the month is March 6th, the new moon at almost 16 degrees of Pisces, and this is also going to be conjunct Neptune, the Sun conjunct Neptune. So you can check out my blog if you go to Annie Helps You, or if you just search for Making Powerful New Moon Wishes in Pisces, you can find my blog that helps to guide you using that energy in the best way for creating the life of your dreams. But in general, this is an extremely dreamy and introspective month, and this moon is especially so because of the sign it's in and because of the Neptune aspect. But it's an artist's delight, and I really love this time for rest and retreat and rejuvenation, and being surrounded by inspiration, going to an inspiring place. Definitely watch your security all month, but this particular transit, things going on behind, your conscious knowing with internet or home or other security, just be on guard there. Okay, March 6th is the date that Uranus moves back into Taurus. Sometimes we see things happen to the date or very close to the date that are notable, although things have already been happening since Uranus has been marching back towards Taurus. Things have been really getting stirred up over the last couple of months. All right, some sweet aspects and challenging aspects that I listed the dates already, but the other big date I want to talk about is that full moon at 0 degrees of Libra on March 20th. I talked about this in some of the individual reports as well, but this is the 3rd supermoon in a row. And it's the 3rd one at 0 degrees, which is the 1st degree of the sign. So this is denoting major new beginnings, major clean slates, major breakup of old ways, some of those ways we don't want to leave, and so we could be resisting, but some of it could be welcome change that we've been working for a long time, and just sort of karma clearing up, and lots of magic. I really love this full moon, even though it will be intense for better and worse. Full moons are always intense, but this is also a super moon, and it's also at the that 1st degree. So think about the intensity that we had at the eclipse time around January 21st, and then the full moon in February. Those super moons tend to bring more emotion and more power to the experience. This is also the spring equinox. This is also the first day of the astrological new year, which is a very exciting time to do a vision board. Also, the new moon in Aries, which will happen in April, is one of the other best times to do a vision board, planting seeds for what you would like to create in your life. But this March 20th time is very, very powerful, very, very powerful. There's also 3 awesome aspects that are occurring simultaneously. Mars in Taurus is trining Pluto, and Mercury in Pisces is making a sweet aspect to Saturn, or maybe that was it. So there's 2 aspects. And those are just adding to the beautiful, powerful nature of this time. So then on March 28th, we have, or the 27th, depending on your time zone, Mercury is going direct. So again, the awkwardness around those dates, to just be extra careful driving, walking, with your communications, your devices, don't drop them in the toilet. This is more likely to happen during these Mercury retrograde cycles where your cars or other vehicles or communication devices need some attention or extra care. Don't text while you're driving. Don't text while you're walking, if you can help it. Oh, one other thing, we started out the month with that challenging aspect with Venus on March 1st, and now we end the month with a sweet aspect with Venus. So sweet surprises in money and love can come with this one. So it's a nice counterbalance to that jolt at the beginning of the month. So if you love how I do astrology and you'd love a live reading, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Work With Me, and see my astrology coaching section. If you would love to learn astrology because you resonate with how I teach, there may be some slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. I would love to have you aboard. If you think I go into details in the reports, then you should see the details I go into the astrology apprenticeship program. Definitely check out my new book, Radical Prayer: Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. It has already become an Amazon bestseller, so it's very exciting. So you can either go to radicalprayerbook.com, or you can search for my name and Radical Prayer in Amazon. Also, that should start to be available internationally at different booksellers. You should be able to get that at kind of brick and mortar bookstores as well. So go to anniehelpsyou.com, go to cozybysweetstarlight.com for written horoscopes from me. I also do a write-up talking about different things than I do in the videos that supplement, and if the videos are a little bit intense, the cozybysweetstarlight.com horoscopes are the antidote to that. They're super light, super easy to follow, and give you some different aspects to understand. Okay, so you can go to my husband's website, iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. He does tarot readings. He also does some astrology readings, and he does visual work with audio-visual work. So you can check out his offerings there. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.